Well, hey there, witches, pagans, tarot readers, and diviners of YouTube. Welcome back to my channel, as the case may be. My name is Shane, and today I wanted to do a tarot deck review. Now, this isn't a new deck. This is the Modern Witch tarot deck by, I don't know if she pronounces her name Lisa Sterle or Lisa Sterle. And it was published in 2019, so it's not exactly a new deck, but it's new to me. And the reason I picked this deck up was because I have a cousin, a younger cousin. We're very close, and she's started to get a little bit more interested in witchcraft and tarot and, you know, just kind of curious. So I hit up my best friend for advice. His name is Jack, and he's got a YouTube channel of his own, and he's fabulous. You should check him out. I will link him below. So I hit him up and I said, you know, what is a good deck that's not going to be intimidating for, you know, a first-time user, something that has really accessible, you know, legible imagery, but also inclusive. You know, inclusivity was a pretty important characteristic I was looking for when shopping for a deck for my cousin. You know, being a queer woman, and who has siblings of color, you know, I wanted her to be able to see herself and her family and her friends and, you know, her community kind of reflected in the tarot deck she was using because, you know, just for reasons, right? Like when you're doing readings, when you're doing divination for yourself, like, it should make as much sense to you as possible. You know, it should, you know, it's about context. So, he, you know, being the expert on tarot that he is, threw out a couple different decks, and I looked him up online and settled on this one. First things first, I love this deck. It's honestly, when I'm done with the video and the review, it's going to be real hard to ship this out to her. But the last thing I need on this green earth is another tarot deck. So it is coming, Maggie, don't worry. But I love this deck. It's a lot of fun. It's really easy to read. Like I said, it's very legible. The imagery is very straightforward. It is like a what you would call a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. You know, and I don't mean a clone as in like I don't mean that to have any negative connotation. I mean its imagery is inspired by, you know, the images in the Rider-Waite-Smith that we all know and love and are familiar with. It's just, the illustrations are beautiful. There's a nice cohesive color palette, which is important to me as an artist. It comes in this beautiful, real sturdy slipcover, and, you know, comes out of there, and then the little white book that comes with every deck is a hardcover book. So again, very sturdy. Last year, nice long time. It's nice cardstock quality, real glossy and shiny. It's called the Modern Witch Tarot because it is updated, you know, for modern life. A lot of the cards have like technology. These are the backs. You know, sometimes this is done like super successfully, like in the Fool card, you know, where she's just listening to her iPod and she's just going to trip right off of that cliff, right? I think that's a kind of a cool take on the Fool. You know, the same way with the Hermit, you know, she's going to that laptop computer and kind of shut herself away. I think that's a great take on the Hermit. And then there are other cards where I'm like, I don't know, I guess it's successful, maybe slightly less successful. You know, the High Priestess, like, I don't know if she needs to be on a laptop. We understand the High Priestess is, you know, the keeper of the mysteries and all that. So maybe that adds something for you. Maybe it doesn't. Kind of same way with the Two of Wands. You know, she's looking at her smartphone, and you know, maybe that adds something to your interpretation of the Two of Wands, and you know, maybe it doesn't. But I think it's cool that it's updated, it's modern. You can definitely see yourself and your friends and your life reflected in this deck. The clothing is obviously all updated. You know, this isn't a tarot deck where they're all running around in like faux Renaissance-y kind of gowns, right? When I worked in costume design, we used to call that aesthetic we'd say, oh, where's this show set? Long ago and far away, right? So there's none of that. The clothing is updated, and I really love, again, it's not just about, oh, they're in hoodies and Adidas track pants, but like here in the Four of Cups, right, her sweatshirt says "over it," and I just love that. Like, I mean, you might as well have a subtitle, right, on the card. Like, if that doesn't just sum up what it's about, and the look on her face and all that, but her hoodie says "over it," and I just freaking love that. Some of them are a little bit more subtle, like in the Justice card, she's got the teeny tiny little equal sign on her turtleneck sweater there. Kind of reminds me of like the Human Rights Campaign logo. So very fitting. It's a very body positive deck, although none of the figures are what I would call fat. They do have real bodies, and they do range. So like, my girl on the star card, she's got a real woman's body. A variety of bodies. There's some curvy, some thinner, some, very cool, very cool. Three of Wands. She's got real legs, real hips. We love that. We love to see it. Same with Two of Swords. I love her. Real hips, birthing hips. Again, like, not anyone that I would say is real fat, but actual bodies, not stick figures. And that's nice to see. There are plenty of people of color in the deck. Starting with, I love the Magician card. It's also the card that's on the slipcover, right? Like, we've been talking about Black Girl Magic for some time now. If that just ain't Black Girl Magic, I don't know what is. There's some figures that look to me like they might be Latino or Latinx. And what I really, really like is that, there are some through the clothing or the hairstyles or the jewelry. It's not just, let's have some real talk here. It's not just the socially acceptable, people of color that are depicted on this deck. But sometimes, the people of color that, make white people or make people who are, kind of the dominant paradigm, the people in power, uncomfortable, right? Sometimes they're a little bit more loud, aggressive, and I love that, we're not just showing like, oh, Cosby Show, sweaters and khakis, appropriate, non-threatening people of color that make white people feel safe. The Queen of Wands looks like is depicted with vitiligo, which I love. So again, it's not just about what is kind of conventionally beautiful and socially acceptable. It's a real range. It's a legitimate range of skin types and body types and gender expressions. So a lot of the cards that are traditionally very male or very masculine, typical, strong male figures and flowing beards and whatnot, like the Emperor, are instead depicted as like these real strong butch women in suits. Or, maybe they're non-binary people or gender fluid people. We have no way of knowing. But again, that's what's cool about this deck, is you can kind of see your friends and your family and people kind of reflected in it. And all the kings and all the knights are also kind of depicted in this real fierce love her. The King of Cups, I would have 10,000 of her babies. Absolutely yum. And again, like the knights, I said, very masculine in presentation, but obviously, assigned female at birth. And I just love that. I did find it a little bit confusing for a deck that is so inclusive to not have any men. And I get it. I understand, to put women and femmes and trans and gender nonconforming folks kind of at the forefront. I totally understand, because historically, traditionally, we have been underrepresented. But to not have any men or masculine, I don't know. It was a bit weird to me. I hunted through the entire deck, and I really only found 3 cards that maybe have men depicted in them. I believe the silhouette in that purple figure, that looks like a man's body to me, especially, juxtaposed next to the pink figure where you kind of see the curvier, hippier kind of shape. So that's one. Similarly, we all know how the devil card and the lover's card are kind of, symbolically and artistically linked. Again, I'm pretty sure that figure on that side is, a male-bodied or an assigned male at birth individual, but can't be 100% sure because, his back is to us. And then maybe in the Four of Wands, that taller figure might be a man. But, it's ambiguous. There aren't any men. And I just kind of bizarre for a deck that is so inclusive to be exclusive on that one thing. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have no problem with like cards that traditionally have had like a male and a female, a heteronormative pairing, to have something like this, right? Like the Two of Cups, those are obviously, two women or two, assigned female at birth individuals or whatever. And that's cool. Like, that's a cool take on the Two of Cups, especially with what cups represent, right? That's awesome. I have no issue with that. Same thing on the Ten of Cups, that's historically been like a happy family, mommy, daddy, 2.5 kids, dog, white picket fence kind of thing. To have like this interracial lesbian couple, like, I'm with it. I have no problem with that. But like I said, to not have any men in the deck is just strange. There is a deck, I don't remember which one. Maybe one of you guys know and can let me know in the comments, where I think the deck came with like 2 sets of the Lover's card, or 2 something. And it was like a card with 2 men on it and a card with 2 women on it. And I love that concept, right? So like, depending on who you're reading for, you can swap in whatever Lover's card is appropriate. So I love that concept. It would have been nice to see something like that in here, but it doesn't really detract from the deck for me. I still love it. I would still read with this. As pretty as this deck is, and it is really pretty, like I said, beautiful color palette, with the pinks and the teals and the purples, like nice jewel tones. The grizzly cards are still grizzly, right? Like, the Tower still sucks. And this one's actually quite violent. You got like these people impaled on these sharp, jagged rocks. Like, the Tower's not fucking around. So don't make the mistake of thinking like, oh, this is an airy, fairy, fluffy deck where nothing bad ever happens. Like, there's still that. Three of Swords still sucks, right? Like, it's pretty. It's pink instead of red, but it still sucks. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, is this like a cheesy deck that's not going to tell it how it is? No, it's real. It's real. In the Little White Book, which is, like we said, not white, but in a beautiful hardcover, the creator talks about her inspiration for this deck and how she started with the Ten of Swords and how she was kind of at a really low point in her life, and just drew this cute illustration that was kind of like a riff on the Ten of Swords. It says, everything is fine. And I love it. It reminds me of that meme. So, from there, she said so many people resonated with that image and with that concept and with that artwork, that, then she felt compelled to kind of create a whole deck around it. And this is perfect. This is like the millennial, exennial, Gen Z, like, social anxiety, depression, just gonna pretend everything is fine, addicted to our phone, like, dead inside, but still going to, work our 7 jobs and try to pay off our massive student debt. Like, this is amazing. This is actually amazing. And this is not this is an additional card. So this is an extra card. There is a regular Ten of Swords. It says Ten of Swords, included with the deck, but there's this card. There's a little card with an affirmation on it. All in all, it is awesome. Like I said, I love it. If it weren't for the fact that I need another tarot deck, like I need a hole in the head, I would order one of these for myself after I ship this one to my cousin. The only other thing, like I said, besides the bizarre lack of men, is I do find it a bit hard to shuffle. You know, it's a thick boy. Like, it's real. My hands are a little bit smaller than average. But I find it really difficult to, like, bridge this deck if that, oh, see, I dropped it. If that's how you shuffle. I'll show it next to, one of my other decks for comparison, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the Modern Witch Tarot, and this is my Morgan Greer, right? Same exact 78 cards, but you see how much thicker that one is? So, it's, like I said, it's tough to get your hands around if you've got smaller hands like I do. But don't let that detract you from checking it out. It is, like I said, super cool. Hopefully some of the images have compelled you a little bit. And if you have this deck, you know, let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to hear about it. If you've read with it, what's the experience like? And some of your other favorite inclusive decks. Like I said, especially in terms of body types, gender expression, and, you know, racial and ethnic diversity. Because it's important, you know, moving forward. All right, that's all I have today. Hope you guys are well. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.